Yo guys, before we get into today's video, have you ever wanted to get your own custom piece of artwork, something to fill those spaces on the wall that you just can't seem to fill? Well, look no further. All you have to do is click the link for @CarlSerif over on Twitter. He does requests, custom orders, and international shipping. All communication is done through Carl, so you have nothing to worry about in terms of customer care. You can, however, get at him on Discord, in my Discord that is, just at Carl in my Discord, and you can go straight to DMs via that way. So if you want one of these amazing pieces of art or any other custom piece you can think of, just at CarlSerif. Let's get into the video. Yo guys, welcome back to another Danmachi Memoria Freese video. Okay, so live stream's still going on. There are no English translations on Facebook just yet. Everyone's asleep. It is a public holiday over in Japan, so the stream went a little bit differently and went on for a really long time, but there is so much information. So as you can see on the screen right away, we're going to be getting Riveria Record Buster, obviously Dark type. Probably going to need to bring Lena again for this one. I'm just guessing. Throwing it out there, you know. So what I'm going to do is, because there are no Facebook slides, I'm literally going to jump across from web pages, social media, and then the Danmachi Memoria Freese Reddit Discord group, which, oh, and again, big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for the live translations, slides, and everything you guys do every week. It's very much appreciated. So yeah, Riveria. Now let's get into the next bit. So we have Familiar Rush coming. We knew this last week, but they've given us information this week, and as you guessed it, you're going to be needing those water units, you're going to be needing those light units. So I'm going to go through the stages real quick and tell you what is what. I've got to get through so much information. I do apologize if I'm going a little bit fast. So this is stage 1 of the Familiar Rush. As you can see, it's AoE, so not single target here. I am going to go over what they're weak to. Thank God they posted translation. So stage 1, where we have fire magic attacks and physical attacks, can stun, buff its own guard rate, buff its own crit rate. It's resistant to fire and wind. It's no resistance to earth, thunder, light, or dark, and is weak to water and weak to physical attacks, but has a 40% magic resistance. And I'm not going to stick around and explain that too much. I will leave that to you guys to discuss in the comment section, but we're going to jump straight on to stage 2. Okay, so this is stage 2. As you can see, a second AoE as usual. It's always 2 AoE, 1 single target being the third stage. So this is the this is the second stage, so I'm losing track of my thoughts here. And what do we have? Stage 2, Insects. Thunder magic attack, can stun, buff its own strength and agility, debuffs your team's strength and magic, has 30% thunder resist, 20% dark resist, has no resistance to fire, wind and water, has a minus 20% resistance to light, and a minus 50% resistance to earth. And you want to aim for those earth magic users. There's a reason for this. Obviously there's a reason for this, and I'm giving you the news in a specific order, which is great, because usually I have to go through the Facebook slides and they're already preset, and I don't really want to fiddle about with that, sliding back and forth in editing. Okay, so we're going to jump onto stage 3 now. Okay, so we're at stage 3, the big old fish. Actually, I don't know what that thing's called anyway, but let's look at the description. Stage 3, Aqua, the thunder, oh, Aqua. Stupid, I'm sorry. Stage 3, Aqua, Thunder magic attack, Water magic attack, and Elementless a non-elemental physical attack. How about that? Can slow, debuffs your team's endurance. Its resistance to fire and dark by 30%. It's resistant to water by 40%. Earth, wind, and thunder resistance is 0, and then it has a minus 60% resistance to light. So Lena again is going to be necessary. Physical resistance is 30% and magic resistance is 0. Why does all this matter? We're going to jump into the next part and I'm going to explain. This is why it matters. Okay, so on top of the current units that we have, the summer event, they're rerunning the idle event. So actually, why does it? No, it matters partially. Like, okay, there's some insect killers in here and everything, so they will be helpful for stages. But I'm sorry, I just got a little bit carried away here. This is the next lot of more exciting news. For me, this is more exciting than Familiar Rush. Way more exciting. Whenever they decide to bring back older units and give them a buff to make them more relevant, it's always a good thing, because it enables that mix of viability between teams. You know, just seeing the same team for everything, but that's going to happen regardless because every game has like a tier system and a meta. But they're bringing back the idle units, and they all got reworked and they all got buffed in their own way. We're going to cover those afterwards, but there's better news to come, and this is the better news. As usual, they rerun an old event, they bring out a new banner, and we're getting 2 new units. And I'm going to get into those units. They showed us the animations, they showed us the skills, and we have the translations here now. So I'm going to go over that with you right now. Okay, so these are the Asp Stats. You can tell even without translations, you know she's a balanced type. I do apologize if the sun is bothering you. It's a really nice day, and I don't want to set up all my lights, so I figured I would just enjoy a bit of the sunlight. Anyway, you can tell she's a balanced type. I love this artwork, and when you see the whole picture, you will understand why. And you can call me a degenerate all you want, I don't care. Anyway, I'm going to go over the skills real quick. Well, not real quick, I'm just going to go over the skills. So, her SA is an AoE Ultra Earth magic attack with another great temporary magic boost, and Ultra Crit for 1 turn, allies AoE resist plus 50%. Okay, so she's looking a little bit like a defensive unit there. They don't really see much use anyway. Skill 1, sorry. Allies fast for 4 turns, AoE resist plus 35%, gain 3 additional actions, allies 30% heal, and for 2 turns guard rate plus 20%. That's damn crazy. That's like mega defensive. Mega defensive. Skill 2, AoE Super Earth magic attack with temporary magic buff, Ultra Pen, and reduces debuffs on allies by 2 turns. Excuse me. Skill 3, single target super. I think that might be a typo there. It's one or the other. I think you'll find she has, I think the skill 3 is probably a high Earth magic attack with Ultra Crit, and for every guard rate buff on self, skill damage plus 40%. Skill 3 is high. I think you'll find that's a typo. Passive is a thunder resist plus 35%, counters an earth, counters an earth element, and then the usual, and she has an insect killer. So she's designed for this familiar rush. For sure, which is why I said it's relevant to Familiar Rush, especially with the Insect Killer and the minus 50, was it 50 or 40% Earth Resistance and Magic. Asfi's the one you want to go for, but I don't see her doing crazy amounts of damage, just based on this, considering she is a balanced type. But we're going to jump over to the second unit. Okay, at the risk of triggering people, I was going to pronounce her name, but I'm not going to, because I know my pronunciation is not always correct. Annoys people a bit, so I'm not gonna bother. A magic attacker right here, and you can probably tell from the artwork, and well, given the element right there, we have another Earth unit. So let's get into the skills and we'll see what's what. So SA Ultra Earth magic attack with temporary magic boost, Ultra Pen, and for 3 turns self magic agility and Earth damage plus 60%. It's on self though. Okay, that's fine. Skill 1, AoE High Earth Magic Attack, Ultra Uncounter, and gains 2 additional actions. They're really milking these additional actions. Low Earth Magic Attack, so just a high damage AoE with additionals. Nothing else to it. That seems kind of weird. Skill 2, AoE Fast Earth Magic Attack, Temporary Magic Boost for 2 turns, Self Magic and Earth Damage, 60%. That's a mid. I would say that's a good buff. That's a good buff. I mean, because it's buffing both getting both 60%. I'm down for that. Skill 3, single target, high Earth Magic Attack, Ultra Pen, and great Magic. Thunder Resist, counters our Earth element, and then the buffs, Insect Killer. Those are the 2 new units. Now, they're not fantastic. I think beyond this Familiar Rush, maybe 1 copy. Excuse me. Maybe 1 copy for CP purposes, but I don't think it's something you really need to invest heavily in. But I will be doing a should you summon video anyway. But we're going to move on to the next part of the news. Okay, I know you guys can't understand what is written here, but essentially the SA animation skip button is coming in this 10.3.3 update, as well as a full fit function for war games. I've never been in a scenario where I've needed to full fit in war games, but for those of you that like to be really optimal with your time, I assume it would be really helpful if you come against those pesky stall teams. But yeah, so that's one, and we're going to move on to the next. Okay, we are getting a run up to season 3 login bonus. As you can see, this is an amazing login. Hero light and a guaranteed 4-star 11 draw, 150 iris. Wow. Okay, sorry, I was like, I went along and noticed more iris as I was sort of scanning across it. Bit of a nice login bonus, but the crux of why we're here, this is basically all the information that we have right now on everything else. But the most important bit of information that I've been holding out on, the thing that I've been excited for most, is the stat changes to the idle units, and that's what I'm going to go over right now. Okay, here we are. Now we have all of the information. It's not in English yet, so some of these might seem a little bit off because they've had to be translated directly by Google, as you can see. But these are all of the update notes for the idle units. As you can see straight off, I'm just going to get into it because we're running up on a long... Actually, I've managed to make good time on this video, to be fair. But yeah, so an adjustment to the wallop skill. What did they add? They added high penetration rate to the ability and nothing more. Medium powered. Okay, so they added high pen, which will increase her given I assume they're going to give her a stats boost as well, so her damage output probably will increase somewhat. A little bit thing I would have preferred for them to change it to like a high damage ability, like a high damage modifier rather than a high penetration rate instead. But it works. She's still got a buff. We're going to come down here. Okay, so passives. What do we have here? Will of Fire. Before the adjustment, fire type physical and normal attacks on single enemy during normal. Wait. Fire type physical normal attack on a single enemy during normal attack and counter attack. Adjusted to that. I'm fire due H. That's probably a translation error. Wind resistance. Okay, so what they've done is they've combined when units usually have an element resistance and then an element damage type on counters and normal attacks. What they've done is they've combined that into one passive. So her wind resistance and fire element damage on her attacks has just been put into one passive. That's cool. I suppose what that does is it frees up space to have additional passives later on. Penetration rate stays the same. Wind resistance has changed to counter attack 1. So the wind resistance being combined with the fire damage means that she now gets increased damage when she gets a 50% buff on damage to counters. She's gonna hit considerably harder than she used to just with that alone. Insect killer, nothing else has changed here. Now we're gonna look at the stats. What did she get? Nice buff to health, nice buff to MP. Force is strength, by the way. Obviously it's a direct translation. Like I said, some of them might be a little bit off. Force is strength, so she's got a 350 strength buff. How? Endurance is durability. She's got a nice endurance buff. Very nice. They've buffed her across the board, and I am expecting great things from her. And luckily for me, I managed to MLB this eyes just with tickets and free summons over the span of like the year that I've been playing. So I'm very happy to see, I'm very excited to see how she does in say a record buster scenario with other single target fire units. Moving on to Anarchy. What did they change? They increased the... What did they do? Okay, so before the adjustment, it was increases power of this technique by 40% for every single target attack increase. Okay, they just increased the damage output modifier to 45% instead of 40%. It doesn't look like much, but 5% on top of base stat buffs can add up to a lot of damage, and especially in like Record Buster, you would be surprised how much a small amount of damage increase will increase your score dramatically given the modifiers they applied there too. So but a 5% buff on there is still pretty decent. Okay, again, they've combined her element damage and her resistance into one. I like it. They've added the same... Oh, counter attack, she always had that call. Magic defense, what is this? Dark resistance has changed to magic resistance, so she has an additional 15% magic resistance. I'm down with that. And they've increased all of her base stat passives by 5%. All. Nothing else. Now let's look at the buff, like the stats buffs. Again, across the board, and wait, how much? 350 added to strength. Again, that's a considerable buff. Like real, I mean, I'm not sure what it takes to match to get to triple S strength stat. I don't know where the marker is, but she's either on it or you know, just below it. I'm not sure what that bracket is, but these stats are now very nice. Line, now I'm gonna say it doesn't really matter what they do to Line. She was still relevant anyway, especially as like a god tier sack unit. But what I'm hoping is they've actually buffed her enough to make her usable for other things within the light tier sort of teams. What did they do? Increase the power of the technique by 40%. Okay, so light physical attack on single enemy, so single target. Light physical attack increases the power of the technique by 40% and increase crit. Okay, so they increased the damage output percentage modifier by 5% there. Nothing else changed. Fine, you're not really going to use her SA much anyway, and they didn't change anything else about her. Okay. I mean, I think that's based on the fact that people still use her a lot. So let's go down to Leafia here. Again, they've combined her passives into one. What did they change her resistance to? Increased damage when criticals. Okay, so her crit damage has been increased by 10%. That's cool. And her base passives have been increased by 5%. Nothing else has been changed. Let's see. Another 350 buff to magic. That is great. Agility got a nice buff. Dexterity got a nice buff. Yeah, she's been buffed across the board. We're probably going to be seeing some older players bring these back just for a little bit, for the memes maybe, or at least just to test how viable they will be. Now on to Philvis. Rejection. What did they change? They literally changed nothing but how many turns the buffs are applied. Reduces all enemies' agility, magic resist, and fire resistance by 25% for 4 turns. They literally could have brought that up to 30% and left it on 3 turns. But okay, you know, it is what it is. That's still, I mean, it's a buff is a buff. It's the stat buffs that are more important that are going to make them more viable in terms of how we use them, I suppose. Fire you hate, yeah, they've combined her resistance and element damage. What did her element resistance change to? Damage, penetration damage increased by 10%. Base stat passives increased by 30%, and then the stat buffs are, oh, she got a considerable buff. Like, what did she? I mean, yeah, I mean, the agility buff. So what we're seeing here is these units got, I'm not even going to complain, the fact that they got like such high buffs to their stats alone is very good. I'm going to be testing out as many as I can with the ones that I do have. I hope you guys have some already. I'm going to be doing a should you summon for the banners when they come out anyway. But yeah, guys, that is all the news. I hope you found this informative. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to drop a like if you did. Subscribe if you're not. Social media links in the description as always. I love you, and I'll catch you later.
Fire!